stopped.
You good?
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another East Oaks Live session. We're excited to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. So this is the second session of conversation with my good buddy Alex Venezia. How's it going, man?
Hey.
So the idea behind this is that we're testing our new Livestream system, and we're excited to be able to share this with you. So I thought it would be cool to be able to just play around and do something that we normally don't do. I normally don't do portrait sketches, so this is an opportunity for me to be able to do something with Alex and have fun with it. So this is good. At the beginning, I just wanted to do a little bit of a review about last week and kind of talk about what I want to do with this and some ideas that I have, and then eventually Alex and I will kind of continue the conversation. So first off, what I want to recap on is there was several of you that we said if you want to have the palette of colors, just send us an email. If you have any questions later on, Alex will be looking at our email. There's a form below you can fill out and just submit whatever you want. We'll try to get to it at the end. We're going to stick to about an hour format, similar to last week. So the painting that you're seeing right now was an hour sketch. I did a really quick block in on the background, and basically I was thinking about some larger shapes and pushing around and going back and forth between a two-dimensional way of thinking and a three-dimensional way of thinking. So if it's two-dimensional, I'm thinking about the picture plane. If it's three-dimensional, I'm thinking about form. So if you didn't see that, you can go back to our live stream section on our website and you can scroll down, and the first session of this should be available. There were some audio issues in that one, so there was a little bit of an echo, but we believe we got the problem fixed. So hopefully this time it should be smooth sailing. So last week, one of the things that Alex had mentioned was he was over in Sweden studying with Odd Nerdrum, and you had mentioned that Odd incorporates a lot of sanding and scraping, and so I was thinking about this and thinking about how I wanted to approach it, and I had the idea of, because it's on a leg ground, any kind of sanding is dangerous because it can lift up. But that's one of the advantages to having a liquid on the canvas, so that it doesn't create any dust or dust in the air. So what I wanted to do was I'm basically just going to take retouch varnish. I'm going to take a soft sable fan brush, and I'm going to put a pretty generous layer of just a normal Winsor Newton retouching varnish. So I want to put that down first over his face, over the whole panel basically, but mainly over his face. And some people recommend not using a retouch varnish so that there's no layer of resin, I believe, in the paint from one layer to the next. But I incorporate it. It's part of what I do. I've done it for years. I don't always retouch and paint into it or sand into it, but in this particular case, I wanted to try it. So basically I was just going to take a little bit of the sandpaper, and I wanted to soften some of the brush strokes in and around the eye and knock down just slightly some of these hard edges. So see, that's thin there, so I'm not going to go too much because I don't want any lights on my dark side. If I sand down some of the lights in the lights, that wouldn't, if the panel came through, that wouldn't bother me, because it's in the lights of his face. So what this does to me also is mentally it just takes away a little bit of that being too connected or too excited about what you had done. I think the process of painting is a continual correction of your errors, and if I'm too excited about something that I've done, then I'm going to be too timid and not just get into it. So similar to my flower paintings, I'm going to do a quick, just brief pass of the background. So last week I did, sorry, who's there? Put out some oleo gel. Last week I did burnt sienna and ultramarine blue for the background. A little bit of Gamsol. So now I have a variety of, I have the retouch varnish that's going to start to tack up. I have my oleo gel and I have the Gamsol. So I have to think about those things and how they affect the fluidity of the paint stroke. So back through here, I just kind of want to mimic, block in a little bit, cover the ground, go over here, add some black, cover all the white basically. So what this does in my mind, I don't know if you've ever done this, it's just a process of how I think about it. At the beginning of the day, I'm not going to come in here and try to put really masterful strokes on the eye. Because it's like anything, you have to just kind of get in the rhythm. We're live, we're just starting, so for me to jump in to the eye would probably not be very wise. I don't know, is that?
Yeah, I typically I wouldn't start with it, just to make sure that I kind of get myself warmed up before I go to an important part. So I guess.
Yeah, so would that be anything in the background, or?
Yeah, I'd probably mix up a background color. Yeah, maybe go into some form or just like some larger areas of the bigger light shapes or something. Not sure.
So we had, thankfully we had quite a few people tune in last week. We're excited to be able to keep testing this. Send us your feedback, tell us what you think, tell us what you would like to see. We had discussed doing classes in the future and workshops, and that's something that we're interested in trying to bring the conversation of painting to as many people as we can. So that, can you turn a little bit?
This way?
Yeah, maybe even I think the chair is a little bit off. Yeah, that's fine. Joe, does that screw up focus too bad? Okay. So I had the idea there's this warmth in the background. You can see it particularly in the shot of maybe of the camera that's on Alex, but this, if I tune in with my iPhone, so you can see that pole back there. So I was thinking about trying to maybe incorporate some warmth in the back. So that's just as I mix this up, so you know what I'm doing. I'm going to grab burnt sienna, cat orange, and I just want to hit just this idea of like a really intense note. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to go too much with it, but for right now I'm just thinking, just playing with that idea. All right. continuing on with some shapes of the hair, and dark up here. Alex, you posted some shots of a new still life you're working on.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about what you're discovering in that, or what you're thinking about?
Yeah, sure.
Explain what it is so that they kind of have an idea.
Yeah, so I'm working on a still life of this like broken wooden crate, and there's a bunch of branches and twigs and just a bunch of textures I've never painted before, so that's what I posted recently, just a few close-up shots of the textures. And I've been using my palette knife like I never really have before, and using my brush in a way that I really haven't had before, like with a lot of paint like on its side, and just experimenting a lot. It's been fun but hard, and I think I'm learning a lot.
What makes it difficult? Just
I guess most things are a bit more straightforward, whereas in like flesh tone, it's kind of like you get the color, you put it down, and then you can mold it, whereas in getting the texture of wood without actually painting each like crack and crevice,
right,
but getting it to look natural is something I've never done, so.
It's cool. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Do you want to check and see if there's anyone on the live feed? Remember, you can submit questions and we'll try to get to...
Nothing has popped up yet.
Right.
But I guess I'd want to say that what's really cool about what you're doing is you're going back into an alla prima sketch, whereas in most people feel like it has to be one time and done.
Yeah.
And the idea of like something super sketchy and then going back into it and taking it to a higher level after it's completely dry is something that's confusing for a lot of people, including myself. So I'm
experimenting. I mean, I'm approaching it similar to how I think about my flower painting. With my flower painting, I've gotten into a rhythm where it's a lot of putting something down and allowing that to dry, or just allowing that to be the foundation of the painting, and then continually adjusting based off of that. It's not a repainting of the painting.
Right.
It's trying to use the base and to allow that to launch you into a direction. So the idea of doing a couple hour sessions, so the last week was 1 hour, this week 1 hour. The idea is that it's not a labored painting, but that just running with being able to adjust something. So painting rapidly and then just trying to tweak it into position. I guess a good thing if no one's complaining about the audio. That's
yeah.
Everything sound good on your end, Joe? Is it? Yeah. Cool. Just trying to think. This morning, we were able to, thanks to my buddy Joshua, he set up a tour of museum. And so we were able to go this morning, and I was just thinking about my palette, and we saw some palettes. They had an exhibition with the traditional flesh palette and then the Impressionists. And if you're wondering kind of what I'm doing, I'm thinking about just a simple scale, basically neutral to high chroma, similar to last week. So the traditional palette was just basically from the browns through the yellows, red, into the white. There wasn't any violet, any really intense blues, no greens. So with the introduction of new pigments, I realized that so much of what I'm influenced by is the Impressionists, and just how, because they had the access to the pigments, that it just becomes a part of the way they view nature. So, you know, cad orange with burnt sienna, and thinking about artificial light and incorporating that in, and then having raw umber, raw sienna. Those are the kind of earth colors, the traditional palette, but expanding out. And in my flower paintings, I'm constantly dipping into magenta or viridian, but here in the flesh mixtures, it's just, I stay pretty simple. I don't complicate it too much. It's you know, there's slight variations, but from the pinky reds to the yellows, but it's not that complex. Just looking up at you and basically determining what value it is, what color I think it falls under, and from there, then worrying about the placement, etc. So. What is your what is your palette? What can you rattle off the colors? Is it?
It's very similar to yours.
Okay.
I have burnt umber, raw umber, then viridian, then ivory black, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue.
Are you going from left to right?
Yeah.
So you have your viridian on the left?
Yes, I do. Only because I have like the neutral red, neutral yellow, and then before I went to black, between the yellow and black, it just looked nice there.
Okay, yeah,
between like the neutral black and the neutral yellow. Then cobalt violet, alizarin crimson, transparent oxide red. What's the red I use? Usually cad red, but lately I've been using a different red. I can't even think of it off the top of my head. And then lemon yellow, Naples yellow light, and white. Might be missing one or two, but that's pretty much it.
Naples yellow.
Yeah, Naples yellow light, it's like it's basically like a warm white. It really helps painting light skin tones, I think.
Cool. Check the live feed. I'm curious if there's any.
Yeah, there hasn't been a message.
All right.
Hopefully it's working.
Well, this week I didn't send out an email blast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm logged on to it. It just hasn't. Nothing.
Louis, do you want to join the conversation? You're quiet back there. We don't have you mic'd up, but you can add. You can ask a question or add. Is there, I mean, anything that you can think of that we could talk about? Like, why am I not painting the left eye? I'll do it now.
Do you care where my eyes are looking at? At you, or?
No, not
I've kind
particularly.
of been looking through
Doesn't
this
matter.
hole in the easel.
Painting portraits, to me, I do it so little. I mean, last year I think I painted 1 sketch and 2 portrait commissions. It's just not something that I do often. I enjoy it, but this was just something. This is a test. We want to be able to get the system down so that if and when we give the workshops or whatever we do, then it's more along the format of a teaching video rather than the conversation element. We're just doing it for the sake of something to talk about, because I don't have a clear system of how I go about the portrait. I'm just thinking about blocking in the darks to lights and continuing to model some of the structures and forms. There's not really any rhyme or reason to how I paint a portrait. I do it so little that it's in a couple weeks, week and a half, we're going up to the portrait conference. You're not coming with, are you? So it'll be fun. See everybody, see what they think, see if they tuned in.
Oh yeah, meet people that
Yeah.
have watched this.
It's always fun to see everybody.
Yeah, I'm reading it. Sorry to bug you again. Speaking of honors, I just wanted to ask you something. Chris Clamp, he's just basically noting that, speaking of Odd Nerdrum, I just remember the first time I saw his paintings in the flesh was at NCMA. They were on extended load from Martina Hamilton. Good art there. Oh, at the North Carolina Museum.
Yeah. Is he a local guy then?
I'm not sure. But that's cool. I wonder what painting Odd had there.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to some major museum in Denmark where they have one of Odd's paintings, but it's in storage.
Okay.
And he was very upset that the new person running it thought it wasn't like contemporary enough to show it. But it was an amazing painting.
That's
It would
awesome.
have been really nice to see it.
You saw an image of it?
Yeah, they have in the museum store, like you can buy a postcard of it,
Okay.
but it's not up.
I'm gonna shift over, grab some of my green, Viridian green, yellow, some cobalt violet. I feel like the light is on you. It's just a little bit less extreme.
Should I turn more?
No. I'm just thinking about, you look a little bit darker than. Oh, nice. Look at that. He's got the remote back there. Thanks, buddy.
There you go. The heavens just opened up.
What's that?
The heavens.
Okay, going back to burnt sienna, black. I'll try to darken down. For a long time I didn't use pure black, but I would use it in mixtures as a neutral blue, but I wouldn't like just grab straight black.
Oh yeah.
I would make sure to get my white out onto the palette and make sure that I was hitting, really high up into the lights. But for my darks, often I would mix burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, so it was a transparent dark and not all the way into the blacks. But I realized that if I want to utilize the full extent of the palette, then to push down really dark, the dark darks, I just grab straight black and make sure to reach the extent of my palette. And so I think there's so much you hear so many ideas and thoughts, and you are scared to do something. It's just pushing your black all the way down to the darkest dark is there's no rule that says you can't do it.
Yeah, I definitely do that, but it's mostly in just very small parts. Like if it was the shadow of the hair, maybe I'd go like pure black right under the ear if it was super dark or something.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll mix it with transparent oxide red or burnt sienna just to give some warmth to it.
Okay.
But I'm not sure it makes a difference.
I feel like I want to load up, so I have my lead white next to titanium, so I want to reach to the extent, the brightest light as well.
So Chris says he is from North Carolina, Charlotte, and the two paintings were the Night Guard and the Cloud.
Cool.
I'm trying to think, I think those were two of his older paintings that were much more old masterly. I'm imagining one with like a huge cloud rolling in. I'm not quite sure.
Google it.
Yeah, I could look it up. The cloud. Yep, it's the one I thought.
Yeah.
Let me see what the other one is.
So there's. Wonder how long we've been going. Do you have time?
8:32.
8:30. Okay. So I'll just bust back into the interview format just because I'm not, I'm trying to concentrate on the painting. So what do you think of Raleigh so far? I know you've been just kind of going to the studio.
Yeah, so far, yeah, just been going to the studio and back to the apartment and to the museum, but it seems really nice. The architecture is much nicer than Virginia Beach, where I came from. The old buildings are nice, but yeah, don't have much to say yet.
Yeah. You've been here how long? Just like over 2 months?
Yeah, almost 3 months now. Wow, it seems so much longer than that.
3 months? Last night we were recording some new episodes of The Line, so they should be out within the next couple months. We'll probably release one a month. Are you checking the website on the?
Yeah. Let me see. Did you just dip into Viridian?
No.
No. Well, something's up.
It's funny.
I don't know if it's live or a playback or.
About 10 seconds to find out.
Yeah. Huh. I see you painting the nose. Oh, this is nice.
You can tune in as
painting the nostril.
So it's back up. It's good.
I'm seeing it.
Yeah. That's cool. We'll have to do the Ethernet connection next time and see if. So as I get up into some of these lighter notes, I'm grabbing the magenta and cat yellow pale.
I just thought of like when a student asks you to like paint them and put a mirror behind you. There could be a camera behind you live streaming it and them like just looking at their phone.
Yeah, that'd be way easier. Because the mirrors you have to always set up, it's like
to make sure, and
really
then their eyes have to be at one spot. And yeah. How modern is that? Like having your student live streaming what you're painting right there.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the excitement behind this. It really is about being able to connect with people in ways that we never could before. So, I mean, granted, it's not a demo by a sergeant, but it's, you know, it's just, as I mentioned in the first test, it was, you know, when I was studying in Minnesota and before I moved out to New York, there was really no social media, and so you couldn't see what people were working on.
It's crazy because I can barely imagine that.
I remember like the first access I saw of Water Street Atelier was an American Artist magazine, and it was just an article on the school. So like, it's totally different now, you know.
Man, that's so crazy. I'm just imagining like how much harder it is, how much harder it was to find painters that you liked, and just probably so many you would just never hear of in your life until you happen upon a magazine.
Yeah. So I should probably note I'm not attempting a finish in this. The idea would be to continue to create you know, successive layers that would be pushing towards a likeness of you or a painting that I like. So it's not about a lot of people wanted to do like a split screen and to have an image of you and see what I'm working on, have it right next to it. But in the end, the actual experience. What's up, Joe?
Just did it.
You did? That's super funny. Like as I'm saying it.
Oh, you made it possible?
Okay, that's awesome. Well, so anyway, what I was gonna say is that's awesome if it works well, but I'm not looking at a photo. So like, you're moving around, you know, your eyes are moving, everything's moving. So I'm not gonna worry if my painting doesn't look like you. You know, so often we think that a painting is good if it's a photographic likeness of what we're looking at. So, and in my flower paintings, I don't think that way. And when I pick up a Sargent book, I don't know what the sitter actually looked like. I'm assuming that he was, obviously, it was pretty spot on, and you know, he's so good. But there's paintings that are so loose that if you're only worried about a photograph, then you're not going to have the freedom to create a painting. Does that make sense? If I'm constantly led by looking at a 4K image, how could I create a painting? So the idea is that the experience is this ongoing, I'm experiencing a session with you talking about stuff, and so then that gets translated into the painting, and maybe it starts to look crappy, and so then, you know, but 3-4 sessions later it'll come together. I had a story I tell a lot of people in workshops about back when I had my first solo exhibition at Arcadia, and I had a painting that was a girl in a brown chair. She had the violet dress, so you're probably familiar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that originally had a chair off to the left, and it was much wider, and there was a light gray background. So I cut off the chair off to the left, and I painted on it for a long time, and then I just put it in storage, and I hated the painting forever. I was trying to paint something serious, and I felt like it was just a little bit too saccharine, and you know, I just thought it was, I don't know, there was something about a girl taking a nap, and then it was like not very long before the show, I just rubbed a dark brown all over the background. And so then the chair in the background kind of harmonized, and the painting had a different feel.
Yeah.
And it was the first painting that sold. And I just remember thinking, I was like, I almost burnt that painting.
Yeah.
I hated it so bad. So I say all that to say that we're about an hour and a half into this sketch. So to compare it to a photo would just be, it would kill me. You know, it would just be too much. So.
No, yeah. Most of my figurative work that's not commissions or anything, if I'm painting it and I like the way the face looks, but it doesn't look like the model, no one's gonna know what the model looks like, if you know. And I think that's what's so great about still life too, is you kind of can change things however you want. It's more forgiving with still life, but the artistic license.
I wonder if that music is... Joe, can you hear the music from downstairs? Not really?
It's hard to tell whether it's what you hear.
You'll be able to...
Or in the headphones.
You'll be able to go on the playback and check it out. Do you want to check and see if there's...
Nothing.
Nada.
Have you always painted with like burnt umber, raw umber, like your neutrals on your palette?
I think they were there, but I didn't fully understand like how to use them. So that came later. It may have even been something that just from working alongside Josh, I don't know where I picked it up. I honestly don't. I mean, you start to think about things different, and so that idea of really clearly operating in color space and going from high saturation down to neutral shadows, and having, I mean, I have my palette set up a little bit different than his, and I have the primary colors. I was thinking, I had a private workshop just last weekend, and I was thinking I actually could put the least saturated state of my secondary colors, because I have my yellows, my reds, and my blues, and so I have green, orange, and violet. So I could find you know, a neutral green, orange, and violet, and then it would complete the basic idea of shooting way out to the edge and coming into the center. But it's easy to take raw umber and black, and then that's the neutral green. Or black and burnt umber, and then that shifts towards the neutral violet. So I don't think that would be really entirely useful. That's probably why I haven't done it, because they're so close at that state. You know, at the center of the spirit, they're so close that they're just it's such minor shifts. Like right now, I'm adding the black into the raw umber. Technically, that's a neutral green. You can hardly see the shift.
The green.
But yeah, so if I go more yellow, add raw umber, that's going from a little bit neutral green into a little bit more neutral yellow, but it's so slight.
And I guess one thing that I think about is having like raw umber and burnt umber. When you're thinking of it in that way, in color space, it's easy to use and make sense. But I think sometimes a student, when they have those colors, they think, oh, I want to make something darker. I'm just going to grab a brown and add it to whatever color I'm using. And somehow it makes the painting very muddy or chalky. So it's important to know why it's there, I guess. because I only really started adding it after kind of being here, I think, maybe even, or right before I got here, listening to you explain how you use your palette. It only made sense to have it there. So, yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, it's amazing how, because so what you're doing here is you're working alongside us. We're not actually teaching you, but it's amazing how when you work in community and you have access to other painters and you just start to kind of listen to conversations, and you know, it's nice because you can pick up stuff that it's not necessarily, I mean, that would be the idea behind this, is that there, in the long term, there's just so many things that, because the beginner wants you to go step by step for every single thing that you do, and you just forget. I mean, you, unless you have a, like with flower painting, I have a system. So I just teach, I teach the same system.
And you
basically,
know you have to teach it.
Right.
So
I've never done a portrait painting workshop. That's, you know, so to do this, I'm taking a huge risk. I could make a fool of myself and paint something really, really bad. But it's just sharing information. It's that joy of the process of talking about it, talking your way through, and then there are all kinds of people who can benefit from it, regardless of how many people are tuned in right now. That's not the idea. The idea is to have this continual kind of conversation about painting and access to good painting. Because, as I said last week, I grew up in an area where, you know, I was in the middle of nowhere. And it was, for me, it was when I was younger, it was skateboarding. So I wanted to be in California and I wanted to skateboard. And so I had no access to like skateboard shops and all that stuff. So I had to order everything on. I had the magazine where you looked through it and you would order stuff.
We probably had the same magazine.
Yeah. So it was like I forget what, it was like a skate shop in a magazine or whatever. You know, they
like
had everything.
CCS or...
Yeah, something like this. It's been so long, but yeah. So my passion then for all of us sharing information is that there are a lot of people all over the world who just don't have access to really good training. So if we can do free content when possible, and we want to do, there's a video of me doing mixing my colors on the palette and putting the objects down, and so we want to do stuff like that live, where every Friday we can have at a certain time, we can tune in at 10 o'clock or something, and I or Josh or Lewis can explain a particular thing, and then so for 15 minutes we can explain it, and then 15 minutes people can just ask us questions. And so it's you know, I did one on modeling. I got a lot of crap for it too, but the idea of modeling something from your imagination, and so you're not looking at a photo, you're not looking at nature, you're just inventing it. And I think that's such a huge part of really good painting, is when you just are in this world of creating space and not essentially you're not a victim to just not knowing. You're wandering in the dark.
I know that I was looking at my self-portrait because I brought it back from Virginia, and I remembered if I was to paint my nose how I saw it in the mirror, it was like such a sharp contrast from the top of my nose to like the shadows casting that it looked like a sticker or something. Okay. So I had to invent a darker form on the top to like turn it to make it look real and natural. So it was this idea of switching to what you know about form rather than just copying what you see.
And those are, when you go to a museum and you're looking at, like, I'm thinking of in particular painting, I don't know why it came to mind, but a Degas of the ballet dancers at the Met. It's this little thing. It's this little painting, just gorgeous. And the value structure in that, and just the way it's handled, it just looks it's not like he's copying, you know, color for color in that room that he was in. It's just he's inventing the space, inventing the light. And there was a girl where the light comes in from the left, and it's just gorgeous. The painting's incredible. It's tiny, it's intricate, and so. I want to come down here and try to turn this so that we're not left with this big white swatch there. I'm going to spend some time because we have maybe 15 minutes left.
It's actually
10 minutes?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. Oh, dang. Okay, I'll go quick.
Oh yeah, because they're a little late.
Lost track of time. Does the video look like you sped it up about five times? That's awesome. I'm sure if we go slightly over, people aren't gonna complain. The 2 people that are tuned in. the audience of 5.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So, I wanted to stay true to the idea that this is an hour. So, regardless of what it is, the concept of this test is that I want to do a series of 1 hour sittings so that the paint layer could dry and I could build up more paint, and then possibly next week we'll continue it. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We want to also just touch, I didn't want to do too many plugs, but we want to let people know that there's a week left for our buddy Carlo Russo's premiere DVD tutorial painting glass. So you should check that out. It's an awesome video. And please send us your comments, send us questions, and we'll try to address it in our next test. So it was good seeing you. Until next time.